Hey, everybody, welcome into the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is a little show we like to call the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag, and it's lovely to have you along for the ride. I feel like yesterday, by the time I laid my head on the pillow, I was taking crazy pills. My head was spinning. What a day yesterday was for a day that I was expecting some big news. And still, we got some big news, just not, I guess, the big news that I was expecting to get in terms of ringing endorsements throughout the locker room of Nick Sirianni. Everyone saying that Nick Sirianni is a great coach. They want him back, and it's on the players, more or less, to improve next year. Did not expect that. I expected nice things said if there was no announcement made yet about whether or not he was going to be fired, whether or not he was going to be retained. And now, not only does that news not look like it's happening, we have the endorsements from the team, and we also have Diana Rossini of ESPN reporting that Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman are making calls around the league to coaches and coordinators to see who might be available to come in and help this team win next year. Also, something that I didn't realize till later when I was able to watch all of Jalen Hurts' press conference yesterday, which was about 15 minutes at his locker. Yes, he gave the ringing endorsement of Nick Sirianni. However, he gave an endorsement of Brian Johnson as well. So as of right now, the only thing that really looks like it is going to happen next year is a defensive coordinator change. Other than that, it really looks like the Eagles are going to be running this back. They're going to be running it back with people that had no answers for the historical collapse. Like, people keep on acting like the Eagles lost, 3 games at the end of the season that were kind of hit or miss. And they're like, oh, if this one bounce goes their way, they win the game. Now, the historical, the Jets in 1986 were the last team to do what the Eagles did. Like, think about that for a second. The 1986 you got to go back to. What? I know for some people watching this, even to say the word the 19, like the previous millennia, you know what I'm saying? Previous century. We had to talk about it. People are like, oh, that doesn't seem that bad. No, that's a long time ago. So, wild day yesterday from the start of it, which was we got done the show talking about Jason Kelce retiring. Now, one thing I am very happy I talked about yesterday was how this seemed very un-Jason Kelce-like. Like, do you really think that Jason Kelce was going to allow like anyone, not just Adam Schefter, but anyone to put out a report that Jason Kelce announced to the team after the game that he's going to retire? And then Jason Kelce's response and his way of announcing retirement would be, yep. Like, no, that was never going to happen with Jason Kelce. So I had told you yesterday that I heard the interview Brandon Graham did with Joe DeCamara and John Ritchie on WIP. And he had said, hey, look, he didn't announce it to the team. If he announced it to some players, then that's what happened. But I didn't hear that. So I thought that was interesting. Eyebrow raise right away. And the fact that, it just seemed un-Jason Kelce-like. One of the things I got into yesterday was, it was below the standard of Jason Kelce. That would be the announcement? Nah, I don't think so. So then right after I do the show yesterday, it starts leaking out that the New Heights podcast has Jason Kelce, obviously, talking about his retirement and saying basically not so fast. I'm going to translate everything Jason Kelce said. The bottom line is I feel Jason Kelce has played his last game. He is going to retire. He is going to mull it over because it's a huge decision. Like, what if he sits out a year and then decides, oh, no, man, I still got something left, and then he wants to come back? That's going to be difficult. This is a huge decision. He wants to be sure about it. I think this is my own speculation from everything I've gathered. My own idea here is that he is 95% retired. And there's a little part of him right now, maybe 5%, that is just like, we got a good team. We got to make adjustments. Maybe we're back. And he's got confidence in the guys around him. He's got confidence in Jalen Hurts. According to him yesterday, he's got confidence in Nick Sirianni. Maybe it's a good team. We got a quarterback. He could be back, man. Do I really want to leave on that note? That's what I think is gnawing at him. But all in all, I think he's done. I think he can call it a Hall of Fame career and be fine. God. And we're back, sort of. That just went out on all the. I didn't realize that was going to go down like that. Anyway, you guys can still hear me, I hope. Mediocre. Okay, I see that. Not me, the Eagles. Well, no, I feel pretty mediocre right now when I lose a signal all of a sudden. That's not good for anybody. Sirianni lost the team. Thought he was resting. Yes, okay. You can still hear me. All right. Here's the deal. So Jason Kelce, and I heard this idea yesterday, and I wish, good God, I wish that this was my idea, but I can't take credit for it. So I don't really watch the Pat McAfee show. I catch it every once in a while if I happen to just be sitting in front of the TV, whatever, and ESPN's on, he'll come on. So I actually heard this idea from him, and it's so much more Jason Kelce than anything else. As I was saying earlier, you can't have just Adam Schefter put out a tweet saying Jason Kelce's done, and then Jason Kelce goes, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, thanks, Adam. You know what I mean? Jason Kelce deserves a send-off party. Jason Kelce deserves a party, whether it's at Lincoln Financial Field, whether it's at, I don't know, someplace like the Met, just to throw it out there. He deserves a New Heights live show somewhere in Philadelphia. And as I pointed out yesterday, I don't see him officially retiring until after the Super Bowl. And when that happens, you know, obviously Travis Kelce will be available. Perhaps Taylor Swift comes out and sings the national anthem. And he officially retires. That is much more suiting. Now, the Taylor Swift idea, that was my idea. But Pat McAfee's idea was Jason Kelce throws a retirement party. Eagles fans are invited. It's a ticketed event. People buy tickets to it. Money goes to charity. And he officially announces his retirement. Meanwhile, you have a whole slew of guests from Bo Allen to Chris Long to Donovan McNabb to Andy Reid to everybody comes out to send off Jason Kelce. And at the end of it, you unveil the statue of Jason Kelce. I don't know how long it takes to make a bronze statue of anyone, but here's my idea. And this idea just came to me yesterday for Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce's statue that he damn well better get at Lincoln Financial Field should be right in through the gates of the main concourse at Lincoln Financial Field, just before the steps, so that when fans come into the stadium, they follow Jason Kelce. It should be him running downfield like he's about to make a huge block on a huge run. And it should be fans being able to follow Jason Kelce, just like so many running backs over the years in South Philadelphia. That's what it should be. Him leading the charge for all fans going in to Lincoln Financial Field. That is much more becoming. The statue, the party, the guests, the ticketed event to help charity. He can help Connor Barwin's Make the World Better Foundation, you know what I mean? And that would be much more suiting for a guy like Jason Kelce. I never expected just somebody to put out a tweet and then all of a sudden he says, yep, I'm done. So I look, he's retiring. I think he's retiring. I think he's done. I think he's played his last game. But right now he's in the nagging loss stage and a season ending way too premature for his liking. And that's where he's at right now. And you know what? Every athlete that's a competitor, everybody that has played the game at his high level for so long, that's a hard thing to come to grips with. And I know some people might go down the route of, when an athlete hangs on too long, it's sad. Not for me. Not for me, because if I was in their shoes, which I am not, but if I was in their shoes where I was superhuman for 13 years, I might think it is kind of hard to let go. Kind of hard to let go. And he gets to be around the game he loves. Yeah, I don't fault him for that at all. So between the idea that Nick Sirianni was going to get canned to Jason Kelce not officially retiring just yet, at least not announcing it, to Nick Sirianni not getting canned and getting huge endorsements from the locker room and also making calls around the league with Howie Roseman to see who's available. What a day. What a day we had yesterday. And also it was cold as hell. If you're listening to this from anywhere else on the planet, maybe some tropical climate, I am envious because it is not fun right now in Philadelphia with the weather that's going on. All right, so that's what we got to talk about today. So much to get into, so let's get on into it. First off, I want to start it off with the news that broke yesterday. late in the day. I'm going to go ahead and follow the bouncing ball here. Diana Rossini of ESPN. Both Eagles GM and Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni have been reaching out to available coaches and coordinators, as well as coaching agents across the league, to evaluate potential coordinator candidates to join their coaching staff as they plan for 2024. What? So then, check this out. About an hour later, Diana Rossini, I assume, saw that me and everybody else read this one way, that Nick Sirianni was coming back. Huh? What? Nick, you're not firing a guy that's helping you plan for the future, obviously. So Diana Rossini says, no, hold on a second. Though this may suggest that Nick Sirianni is safe, I'm told he has not met with owner Jeffrey Lurie, something that was not possible today because of logistical issues. Until that meeting happens, all bets are off, says the, I believe, South Jersey native, Diana Rossini. I'm a big Diana Rossini fan, by the way. Hold on a second. All logistical issues? It's locker clean-out day. It's exit interview day. What the hell happened here? And yesterday it wasn't snowing. It was just cold, man. Where was Jeffrey Lurie? Where was Nick Sirianni? Where were these people? Logistical issues? Okay, anyway. So I found it interesting that she walked it back a little bit. She saw how everybody interpreted her post, and I assume if you're putting that out there, you know what it's implying. So she was, no, an hour later, and then she drops this. Okay, now this is one you might not have seen. It came out at 9:23 last night. Nick Sirianni will meet with owner Jeffrey Lurie and will be expected to have a plan for how he is going to improve the Eagles. This will include a pitch on potential new coordinators and assistant coaches, per sources. This is why coaches around the league have been contacted. Okay. So the story is, going back to Doug Peterson, as most of you well know by now, Doug wanted certain people to be the coordinator. Jeffrey Lurie said, "You crazy." And Doug said, "Well, these are who I want." And Jeffrey Lurie said, "No, or you're fired." And Doug was like, "I want a Super Bowl. I'll get a job in 20 seconds, which he did. Yeah, fire me." They fired him. This appears to be the exact way that our friend Thomas R. Peterson and I discussed last week. And Thomas even hit me up. He goes, "It looks like it's actually happening." And I said, "It looks like a repeat. You're exactly right," of Doug Peterson. So although it looks like right now Nick Sirianni is attempting to save his job as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles with the perfect plan to put in place and pitch, to use the word of Diana Rossini, to Jeffrey Lurie to save his job, it doesn't all but guarantee that he's going to be back. It does push me more to this side of the argument, which is, yesterday I laid it out for you when it came to Nick Sirianni coming back. It would have to be because Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman feel like they have their guy that lets them do what they want to do, which is far beyond what, generally speaking, a general manager might do, and generally speaking, what an owner might do, which is, the owner will pay the checks. The GM will, draft guys, scout, come up with decisions along with the head coach and his input. Generally speaking, that happens. But with this, it seems like most of the power is had between the owner, the GM, and then the head coach. As I've stated many times before, you never want to look at the head coach as if he is just an employee. You want to look at him as if he's the boss. He's the guy with most final say, most pull, most sway in the building. Far from the truth in this case. Nick Sirianni might be the guy that's just happy to have a job. I don't want the guy that's just happy to have a job as the head coach. I want the football guy, the lifer football guy that knows what the hell he's doing and is willing to fight for what he's doing. Not the meddling owner and the GM that has too much power and too much say. And I have said throughout the process here, throughout the last 2-3 weeks, when I look at anger and when I look at blame, I look at Jeffrey Lurie before I look at anything else. And then after that, I look at Nick Sirianni, and then I look at Howie Roseman. Because like it or not, Howie Roseman is the number one reason why the Eagles have been able to go to those 2 Super Bowls in those 5 years with a different head coach and a different quarterback. I don't look at Jeffrey Lurie being like, oh, that guy, he really knows ball. Like, if Jeffrey Lurie wants to be the meddling owner, then why have a GM? Why have a head coach? Just Jeffrey Lurie, get down on the sidelines, put a whistle around you, and start calling plays. Like, that's what needs to happen. So we're looking at it like that. And it's annoying as hell, but that's where I think we are right now. I am now more in that avenue and in that argument than I have ever been. That the Eagles just have their guy in Nick Sirianni that lets Jeffrey Lurie and lets Howie Roseman do what they want. A guy that they have a lot of pull and sway over. And Nick Sirianni, as of right now, is just happy to have a job. If he continues to get to the playoffs, if he continues to win playoff games, unlike this year, if he gets back to another Super Bowl, he's going to have a pretty nice resume after that, do whatever the hell he damn well pleases. But as of right now, he doesn't have that. So as of right now, it looks like Nick Sirianni is going to be back. There were some big endorsements in the locker room yesterday. We'll start it off with Jason Kelce. I do want to say this before anything else. Jason Kelce, when the first microphone went in front of him in his locker yesterday, he said, just so everyone knows, I'm not going to be talking about retirement. So he did not talk about retirement. He did not entertain any questions about retirement. He just talked about the football team. And that's that. But here he is when he was asked about Nick Sirianni and whether or not he wants Nick back as a head coach of the Eagles next year for a team that Jason Kelce might not even be a part of. But here is Jason Kelce on Nick Sirianni.
Would you like to see Nick come back next year?
What's that?
Would you like to see Nick come back next year?
Of course, yeah. I love Nick. I think Nick's a great coach. I really do. I think he's a great head coach. Obviously, nobody was good enough this year. I wasn't. None of the players. None of the coaches are good enough down the stretch. That's the reality of this business. When you're that bad, it's a collective thing. And but I'll always have faith in Nick Sirianni. I think he does a lot of things structurally and organizationally that I think are really well done. Obviously, we got a lot of things to fix to improve the outcomes and the offense in general from my perspective for next year. But I think very, very highly of Nick Sirianni.
All right. One thing I will absolutely agree with is that everyone was that bad. And when you are that bad, it is a collective thing. And I have been saying that you go through ownership, GM, coaching staff, players, it was all terrible. But the guy that's supposed to oversee all that and have the answers is Nick Sirianni. It turns out that, no, that's not the case. Nobody had any answers, unfortunately, even the people with that power, with that sway. So that was the big endorsement of Nick Sirianni from Jason Kelce. What kind of caught me off guard a little bit yesterday was Jalen Hurts. And this is a classic case of burying the lead. So everybody today is going to talk about Nick Sirianni and talk about how the locker room is all, waving the pom-pom. They are Paulie pom-poms for Nick Sirianni, okay? What they might not talk about, a lead that gets buried, is Jalen Hurts mentioning Brian Johnson yesterday. I'm assuming if the Eagles are going to run it back with Nick Sirianni as the head coach, they're going to make other changes at the coordinator positions. I think it's guaranteed that they have a new defensive coordinator next year. And I thought it might be guaranteed that they have a new offensive coordinator. Not so fast. Jalen Hurts yesterday, when he was asked about Nick Sirianni. Now, remember, after the Buccaneers loss, he was asked about Nick coming back. And he was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, everyone, I got confidence in everyone, including Nick, blah, blah, blah. So he was asked the question again. Here's the way Jalen Hurts answered it at his locker.
You mentioned the confidence you have in Nick just a second ago. I guess, do you want him back as head coach?
I said owners own, coaches coach, and players play. I answered that question the other day. And I don't know if you asked me something the other day about, and I said, what did I say?
It's like you didn't know. Yeah. Like you didn't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a thing. So I don't see why that wouldn't be the case. We plan on fixing everything that we've done and growing together. Coach Sirianni, Brian, everyone.
That to me is this morning, that is the lead to me. You went to bed last night and you knew probably that you'd already seen the Diana Rossini posts. That news had already come out. You probably already knew that Mike McCarthy is going to be returning as the Dallas Cowboys head coach, which I could not be more thrilled about. Thank you, Jerry Jones. But you probably didn't know that little tidbit from Jalen Hurts about Brian Johnson. it sounds like if Jalen Hurts gets what he wants, Brian Johnson is going to return. I hope you like bubble screens because there's going to be even more of them next year. I think if anything, one of the major things questions I had going into next year, or excuse me, from last year going into this year, one of the major questions I had, I think is what we all had, which was, okay, coordinators. How much are you going to miss Jonathan Gannon? How much are you going to miss Shane Steichen? Turns out you actually missed both of them. And I know a lot of people don't want to admit it about Jonathan Gannon, but yeah. You're going to miss me when I'm gone. Yeah, I did. And then I really missed you when you put it all on the table to Nick Sirianni in the game you had against him and the Eagles and said, I'm going to give you the ball at your own 39-yard line. I'm going to give you the ball. But you can't score. And even if you do, this offense is going to march right down the field on your defense that I used to run kind of well, actually, and they're going to score. So I really missed Jonathan Gannon then. And now I thought I was going to miss Shane Steichen, and boy, did we. More than anything. This offense, at one point, they were scoring, I think it was a tenth of a point more. Last year was 28.1, and I think this year at some point they were averaging 28.2 points per game. So I was like, oh, well, points are there. You know? The fluidity of the offense was not nearly the same really at any point this season, unfortunately. Controlling games, both sides of the ball. That obviously wasn't a thing this year. I've referenced many times. You only won 2 games this year by 10 or more points. You had 6 of those last year. That's bonkers, man. Point differential, way down. Turnovers, way down. In terms of defense takeaways, I should say. Takeaways, way down. Turnovers, way up, as a matter of fact. So, all this from last year to this year, and you go, okay, well, what was the problem? What's the big question mark? The big question mark has to do with the coordinators. Sean Desai wasn't the guy. Matt Patricia, at that time, even more not the guy. Brian Johnson never really felt like the guy. Nick Sirianni, overseeing it all supposedly on the field, none of it felt like anything that this Eagles team was going to run back. And now it looks like the head coach is back, and if Jalen Hurts gets his way, you're going to have Brian Johnson back calling plays for this team. So what changes? What changes with this team? You might not have, I still don't think you're going to have Jason Kelce back, so now Cam Jurgens slides into the center position. All right, so your offensive line is going to look different. Hopefully Jeff Stoutland continues to wave that magic wand and just turns guys into pretty damn good football players. Tyler Steen going to be your right guard next year? Let's see how that goes. Hey, you already have a Pro Bowler there in the Landon Dickerson. I think Jordan Mailata is on his way to making some Pro Bowls in his career. And obviously you got Lane Johnson, who still has got a career ahead of him. A few good years left, as he says. This is absolutely bonkers. But the thing to me is with that offensive line, you had the best offensive line in football. The offensive line wasn't the problem. Don't get me wrong. They left a bad taste in my mouth too, the way they ended the season. But a lot of that also comes down to your coordinators, to your coaches, to your play calling. They didn't do that offensive line any favors this year. They didn't do Jalen Hurts any favors this year. It doesn't just go, if you got 5 offensive linemen and they're sending 8, oh, well, what about your scheme? Yeah, what about your blocking scheme with your offensive line? That's not on them. That goes beyond them. That goes beyond Jeff Stoutland. That goes to your offensive coordinator, and that goes to your head coach, your offensive-minded head coach. This is the scariest thing that comes out of yesterday. The happiest thing might be that Mike McCarthy's back. And also just an idea, even that like 5% chance, and even that might be a little high, of Jason Kelce returning. That was good news. Mike McCarthy was good news. Jason Kelce, not so fast on the retirement thing now. That's good news. The Brian Johnson news, not great. Not great. Because I thought that was going to be the only change. At worst. So what are we going to do with this offense next year? What are the Eagles going to do with this offense next year? Is Jalen Hurts going to continue to regress? Are you going to continue to waste this great offensive line with Jason Kelce or not next year? This is Jalen Hurts endorsing Brian Johnson to come back. Oh, he's known him since he was 4 years old. What else is he going to say? Well, I'll tell you what, not that. You keep his name out your mouth. But he still wants him back. This is feeling even more like Press Taylor and Carson Wentz. That's what it's feeling like. And that wasn't good. No, not a good matchup. You need somebody that is going to be able to coach you up. And Jalen Hurts has confidence that Brian Johnson's going to do that. Now, maybe the big change is Brian Johnson has more autonomy, more freedom to do whatever he wants with that offense, where he becomes the play caller, and that's that. And Nick Sirianni does the game plan, and Brian Johnson calls the plays. Now, that was supposed to be what it was last year, but didn't seem like it because it just seems stale. And that's why you talk about sharing blame with this whole team and why they were where they were to end the season. Well, just in the offense, you have the same thing. I always talk about the quad of blame, the quado blame. How much was on Jalen Hurts? How much was on Brian Johnson? How much was Nick Sirianni? Might be more Nick Sirianni than anything. Part of these meetings that he has with Jeffrey Lurie, Nick Sirianni has with Jeffrey Lurie, might be Jeffrey Lurie saying, look, you're a great motivator. It's like a breakup speech, except we could still be friends. Nick Sirianni being the head coach might be the we can still be friends aspect of this, I don't know, whatever parting of power, whatever power Nick Sirianni did have. Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman know that an offensive coordinator is never going to step over them, where a head coach might battle for power. But if they keep the head coach like Nick Sirianni at this level and can do that for as long as possible, why wouldn't they want to do that? Well, because it'll get in the way of winning. They don't care. They want power. They feel like they're enough to help this team win. They get to those 2 Super Bowls with 2 head coaches and 2 different quarterbacks. They feel like they really know what the hell they're doing. So why not maintain this balance of power? Keep the head coach at bay, keep them in their pocket, and no offensive coordinator is ever going to be like, I'm the offensive coordinator of this football team. I should know more than the owner. No, they're going to be more or less happy to have a job, get that success, and then hopefully with that success, you go elsewhere and actually become a head coach somewhere else for a owner and a GM that's going to appreciate you, in your opinion. The most horrifying thing yesterday was hearing Jalen Hurts say just what he said right there. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, I want Nick back, and I want to fix this. I want to improve the Philadelphia Eagles with Nick and Brian. I'm sorry, what was that last part? And Brian? All right. Money in the table. I'm out. And that's how I feel about that. It's so weird to me that the team can play as poorly as they did with nobody having answers. And the decision at the end of the year is, we're good. We're good. That's scary. That's a very scary thing. Jalen Hurts also yesterday talked about 2 other things. One, about his voice carrying weight in the front office. He wants no part of that. Despite saying he wants Brian Johnson back, he wants no part of campaigning for people. This is what he had to say when he was.
Owners own, coaches coach, and players play. I just want to play at a high level. I have a ton of confidence in Coach. I have a ton of confidence in Howie. I have a ton of confidence in Mr. Lurie. I have to do my job. I have to do my job and control the things that I can.
Jalen, on the offense.
All right, so he's asked about sway and pull in the locker room. Players play, coaches coach, owners own. If only that was the true structure of the Philadelphia Eagles. Coaches coach with heavy influence from the owner, which is just crazy to me. Players play for those coaches who are coaching under the owner's guidelines. That just doesn't, it's ass backwards is what it is, or backwards is how I like to say it. It's such a weird run organization. It's wild that they've had this amount of success. Not this year excluded, unfortunately, but still they're a playoff team, an 11-win playoff team. What the hell happened? That's what Jalen Hurts had to say about the balance of power, if you will. And then finally, interesting question here. Last thing I have from Jalen Hurts, and I'll highlight some other things that he said, just I'll tell you about it. But Jalen Hurts was asked about the contract, new offensive coordinator, and defense's familiarity with him. Those 3 things factoring in a step back, regression, not playing as well as he did a year ago. Did those 3 things add to pressure for Jalen Hurts in his performance this year? I
don't see any pressure. I just think every year demands a new version of a person. And sometimes you have to experience things and you have to go through things as a team to see what's meant for that team. For me, I always try and demand the most of myself and be the best leader I can be. I try and lead with the right example, lead with the right mentality, and do that. And that's what it is. You have to continue to grow and develop those things. I think that's what it's about. There's a time where, the things that you say make me great, make me unique, make me a great leader, and make those things, at least that's what was said, are now things that are a little different, and interpreted in whatever type of way. But it's just a matter of doing what's best for everyone here.
I read that whole thing. What jumped out to me about it was just like, look, I was good last year doing a lot of the same things I was doing. And now everyone's questioning everything because I didn't perform at a high level. And my initial and still my reaction, yeah. Like, what do you expect? If people see a huge step back, which is what we saw. Now, the reason why is that's the headline, as I mentioned yesterday. It's not just, oh, Jalen Hurts regressed. Yeah, but why did he regress? Was he put in a position to have success? Or was everything crumbling around him? From influence of ownership on down to coaching, on down to their play. Was that? Because I think that's a huge part of it. But as I have said, if I learned anything from the Carson Wentz era, it's that as a quarterback, you can never be part of the problem. So pick up the pieces next year. Whether or not that is with this coaching staff or anybody new, especially in the offensive side of the football, pick up the pieces and improve upon it next year. I have a lot more confidence in Jalen Hurts having a much better year next year than Nick Sirianni all of a sudden becomes some kind of phenomenal head coach and play caller and offensive mind. I have a lot more confidence in Jalen Hurts, but other things do have to help him. You can't have it all crumbling around him. And the thing I will go back to is how they wasted this offensive line. And Nick Sirianni, when he was asked the question a week ago, hey, you were just rated the number one offensive line in all of football by Pro Football Focus. Like him or not, they're pretty damn good at what they do. Like the Lions were number 2. You're going to tell me the Lions don't have a top 2 offensive line? They're pretty damn good too. So you look at the Eagles and you look at this offensive line. You mean to tell me that they used it well? When Nick Sirianni was asked about it, he went to rest. He went to tired. Oh, they're tired. Basically, they're tired. Have you used the offensive line well? The first thing that came to mind when he was asked about the offensive line was how they had an extra day to rest before they played the Buccaneers. Yeah, not really the question, but if me asking or the media asking about whether or not this offensive line has been utilized properly, you defaulted to the idea that they needed a break. It is very rare of the many, many, many offensive linemen that I have talked to. Hardly any of them would prefer pass blocking over run blocking. For the very basic football idea that when you pass block, you got to hold that block for 3 seconds. That takes a lot. Run block, you make a move, you make a hit, running back's by you. Hey, good job. Your job's done. It's a lot more easy to thud. It's a lot easier to thud and be done than it is to be holding that block. 90% of the offensive linemen I've spoken to asked if they want to run or pass, they want to run. Because you also get to, bang, you're done. As opposed to, for the people on the podcast, I just did a phenomenal pantomime of run blocking versus pass blocking. You're welcome. To me, that's what they rather do. So if they're so tired, if they need a break, why are you throwing the ball so damn much? If you have an offensive line that good, why aren't you? If you have a running back that is that good in DeAndre Swift, why aren't you using him? If you have sung the praises of Kenny Gainwell throughout the season, why aren't you using him? If you went through the trouble of not keeping Trey Sermon on your roster after training camp and going out and bringing in Rashad Penny for that process as well, why not use him? And if your quarterback is struggling, why not have him do a little bit less? Oh, and you also want to keep him healthy? Why is he running more? This makes no sense to me. Good Lord, people. Good Lord. Couple more things from the locker. Last couple things from Jalen Hurts. I'll just tell you about these. Focus on himself, being a better man, better leader, better player. Always looking in the mirror first. I respect that. Every year demands a new version of himself. The standard changes. John McMullen be hosting Birds 365 coming up in a little bit on Jacob Media here. John McMullen asked him a great question. You never really talk about changing the standard. Is that a new thing you've learned? And Jalen Hurts was like, yeah, that's a new thing I've learned. Changing the standard. It's got to change. Because, like, if this team is depleted next year, is the standard still a Super Bowl? No, because the standard also goes to expectations. So he talked about that's changing. Now, he didn't come out and say that part of it, but that was more or less the point he was making. He hates the idea that someone else is going to hoist that Lombardi trophy. That stings. It's all about winning. He's got to be the best version of himself for this team next year, whatever that looks like, whatever the team looks like next year. And getting better for next year has already begun. That process has already begun, so rest assured. As I mentioned earlier, Jason Kelce did not talk about retirement. He wanted to answer questions about that. Just talked at length about how disappointed he was. Talked about how when it's bad, the whole thing is bad, collectively bad, as I just played for you. And then Fletcher Cox also addressed the media yesterday. Here's Fletcher Cox's endorsement, and people are really going to like this because I know it's weird. I noticed this with Chip Kelly first because Chip Kelly was the first Eagles coach of my lifetime that was kind of in the I ride with Chip. Like I'm pro. Like it was like Chip Kelly's Eagles, not the Philadelphia Eagles. And people wanted to be so right about Chip Kelly that Chip Kelly was the first person that when people questioned him, people really took issue with the media about it. He's the first guy with the Eagles that I remember doing that. When media members would kind of get on Andy Reid in the few and far between times that actually happened, I don't remember anyone being like, "You leave Andy Reid alone. Andy Reid is a saint. He is a deity." People don't do that so much now, or people do that now, where they'll not like media members questioning players. But so in the day and age that we're in, where people root against media, Fletcher Cox has had this issue with Jeff McClain of the Inquirer, and I think Jeff does a great job. But Fletcher Cox is not a fan. So here's the back and forth. If you haven't seen it yet, the Fletcher Cox had when Jeff McClain asked him about Nick Sirianni coming back. Do you want to see that happen?
Have you gotten any wind of what's going to happen with Nick? And you have confidence in if you do come back, that confidence in him if he's also the head coach.
Like any news about what about Nick?
Nick, I mean, there's obviously some speculation about whether he may be fired or not.
Huh?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Man, he head football coach of this team, man. Come on, man. There ain't even discussion about that.
Yeah, okay. You don't think it's going to happen?
Like, I don't got nothing to say about that, man. You're a clown, bro. Get out of my face, bro.
Look back
Okay, it's fun. I like Jeff, but that's funny. Come on, it's funny. Let's not take it too seriously. All right, this is football we're talking about here. So Fletcher Cox obviously wants nothing to do with the discussion of whether or not Nick Sirianni is going to be. Fletcher Cox might not even be here. I mean, in all honesty, he might not even be here next year anyway. He could be retired. He could go somewhere else. He could be back. I don't know. But Jeff McClain's got to ask the question. Veteran leader like that, he's got to ask the question. Fletcher Cox gives a ringing endorsement of the head coach. Doesn't even want to talk about the idea of him not being the head coach next year. And then this was the most beautiful thing. I think everyone, when they saw the news after the Cowboys game going into the Seattle game, the second Cowboys game going into the Seattle game, when we saw the news break about Matt Patricia being the new defensive play caller, Sean Desai staying on board as the defensive coordinator, but he wasn't calling plays, I think we all went, huh? That doesn't make any sense. Defense has been struggling, but with 4 games left in the year, you're going to make this change? I remember the only positive thing I said at the time was that it was so crazy that they had to be right. Like, you don't make this move and not know that you're going to be right. It's so stupid. But this is a team that has been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 years going into this season. It's so stupid that it's got to be right. It wasn't. It was horribly wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. I predicted it was going to be terrible. It was going to be horrible. But to argue the other side for a second, to do my impression of an eternal optimist, which I am not, the way I looked at it was, this is dumb. And it was. I've mentioned many times Hassan Reddick's reaction. By now, you know it. He thought it was the higher-ups. That's what they wanted to do. Eye roll. Ha, ha, ha. Drop back in coverage more times than ever. Not great. So this is Fletcher Cox yesterday in his locker when he was asked about whether or not the I think I left the question in here. You'll hear it yourself.
Was it worth it to make the change at defensive coordinator?
Oh, that's not my job. I'm employee 91.
But I mean, you
I'm
saw.
employee 91.
Wasn't it worth it? Hey, was it worth it with 4 weeks in the season to change your play caller there defensively? Was it worth it? Oh, I'm not touching it. Not touching it. Maybe I'm now closer than ever than Fletcher Cox to actually returning next year. I am now closer than ever. Fletcher Cox actually coming back for another year with you. Brandon Graham, I think, comes back on a pennies deal, and I think the Eagles will give it to him. And Fletcher Cox comes back on it's a men's deal. All right, he still said he's playing at a high level. Turn on the film, man. Turn on the film. Jeff McClain also asked him if he still feels like he's good. And Fletcher Cox was like, turn on the film, man. I'm still damn good. I know I had a great year, blah, blah, blah. That's great. Good. If he's back, great. But the idea of them being asked about the defensive coordinator change and him being like, yep, not my job. That lets you know how crazy that was. Good Lord. That's something that we're going to look back on. People always talk about it as one of the dumbest decisions defensively as Juan Castillo going from offensive line coach to defensive coordinator. People will always talk about that. In Juan Castillo, after I reacted to it, and I listened to Juan Castillo talk to the media in his first media session after being named the defensive coordinator, he made a great point. Do you know what Juan Castillo did before he was an offensive line coach? He was a linebacker. What the hell does a linebacker know about coaching offensive linemen? Yet he was one of the best offensive line coaches. Like, he was stout before stout. Like, you should hear Trey Thomas talk about Juan Castillo. Like, he just raves about the guy. The way Jason Kelce raves about Jeff Stoutland. And Juan Castillo had his share of rotating offensive linemen. Like, he was stout before stout. And then all of a sudden he's the defensive coordinator. So he's getting the questions from the media. And it's just like, how can you expect, this was one of the questions, how do you expect to gain the confidence of the defense when you haven't coached the defense? And you know what he said? He said, I imagine it's going to be easier than me as a linebacker coaching offensive linemen. He got them to buy in. And you know what was funny? Jim Schwartz came along, one defensive coordinator removed. Or I guess two, because I think technically Todd Bowles took over. Juan Castillo had the highest rated defense for the Eagles for like 5 years, 6 years. So it wasn't that terrible. Granted, he was coaching against Billy Davis, so it wasn't exactly the best competition. But I think the dumbest thing the Eagles have done defensively the last 20 years, dumbest thing, was making this change. If you had to line it up against, it was Chip Kelly's decision to bring in Billy Davis, that was dumb. But granted, it wasn't about defense with Chip Kelly, so why even bother talking about it? But that's still pretty dumb. Firing your defensive play caller with 4 games left in the season at 10-3, and doing that when you take into all account. Think about this. Think about the whole context of this dumb decision. Kevin Byard was acquired midseason, had a defensive coordinator and play caller in Tennessee. Comes here, has Sean Desai. A couple weeks later, he doesn't have Sean Desai. He's got Matt Patricia. You bring in Shaq Leonard while you have Zach Cunningham on the mend. Okay, so Shaq Leonard comes in here. He has Sean Desai. A week later, he's got Matt Patricia. Zach Cunningham comes back from injury. He no longer has Sean Desai. He now has Matt Patricia. You have rookies, Eli Ricks, Keely Ringo, trying to just get their feet wet at the NFL level. And now they got a different defensive play caller in the last 4 games of the season. Oh, and by the way, Keely Ringo, Darius Slay's out. You're up. Go have at it, son. That seems pretty dumb. Dumbest decision I can remember. I'll put it like the last 20 years. All right. That changing defensive coordinators when they change defensive coordinators. And then hearing the players talk about it themselves. Pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. So that was the locker room yesterday. Jordan Mailata addressed the media, obviously disappointed. Reed Blankenship, DeAndre Swift didn't really get too much into evaluating the open market. But if you're DeAndre Swift, are you coming back here next year if they have the same offensive coaching installed? Same offensive coaching, play calling, and all that stuff? If you're DeAndre Swift, do you want to stay? Are you going to make bank off the year that you had this year? First 1,000-yard season, great. Maybe he loves Jalen. Maybe he loves the offensive line. But I think you want to go somewhere that potentially you could cash in even more in the following year. It's going to be interesting. I would love for him to stay here because I think he's a really talented running back, but I just don't think the Eagles are going to invest in that position. The Eagles are not going to invest in running back. The Eagles are not going to invest in linebacker. Those are two positions that we could look at with the Eagles and go, yep, nope, they're good. They'll probably draft a rookie running back and really rely on him. Kenny Gainwell become your feature back until maybe that rookie takes over. But things are going to look a lot different next year. That's for sure. Yeah, interesting day. Interesting day to say the absolute least. Let me tell you guys about the great people at the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farsi when you create an account. And when you buy your first pair of tickets, $20 off when you use promo code Farsi. How about that? The Game Time app is fantastic. You get to view the seat you're buying at whatever event, sporting event, comedy show, theater, whatever the case may be. Whatever's your bag, baby. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farsi. Get $20 off your first purchase. You get to see the vantage point from your seat at the venue. You get flash ticket deals. You get last-minute ticket deals. You also get huge savings because they keep tickets available till an hour after the event for mega huge Kajunga savings at the amazing people at the Game Time app. And how about the Game Time guarantee? Find tickets for the same section, same row for less money elsewhere. How about that? They'll get you back 110% of the difference. That is the Game Time guarantee. So when you're looking to buy tickets to your next event, download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farsi and get $20 off your first purchase. That's promo code Farsi, F-A-R-Z-Y, at the Game Time app. How about MyBookie? MyBookie.ag. Looking to bet on the Sixers, the Flyers, maybe the NFL playoffs. MyBookie has it all. Download MyBookie to your phone. Use promo code Farsi for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie.ag. Sports ain't your thing. Know a little bit more about the world of television? You can bet on your favorite TV shows. You can also bet on the world of politics. They have it all at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Download the app. Use promo code Farsi and get up to $1,000 redeemable at mybookie.ag. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine morning. See your reactions to this team and the dumpster fire that we could be encountering for next season. Twins, what's going on? Good morning. Griffin, what's going on? Well, he didn't exactly say that. In my opinion, he kind of once again danced around that point. Are you talking about Kelce? Because you're right. He didn't say that he isn't retiring. But that's why I have the just yet. Hopefully that gets the point across. Martian woman? Nanu. I think that is a very old reference. Almost the oldest reference I've ever made on the show. That might win an award for oldest reference on digital platforms. Marshall, I think they might keep Sirianni. I think so too. Go Sixers. Good morning. Fuji. What's up, Fuji? Griffin. Honestly, as the days go on, I'm sad to say that they keep him on for one more year. It certainly seems like that. I'm just going to put this up there so you guys can read it. I'll translate for the younger audience. We're screwed, says Maverick 1. Glad they kept Sirianni. Okay, Andrew Dirk. Politicians. Okay. Boop. Jason A., what's up? Good morning, friends. What a weird day. And who knows about the Eagles? Kind of feels like that. Not winning stuff next year, Maverick 1. Did I hear Hurts wanted an offense change? They told him no. Here's the thing. Often, we criticize coaches for not coaching to what they have. In this organization, it feels like we could criticize ownership and upper management. The higher-ups, as Hassan Reddick said. It feels like we could criticize them for not owning and general managing to what they already have. Usually you just say that about coaches. But if Jalen Hurts really wants to do something different offensively, then what the hell, man? You're already tied up. People jump to the $250 million. I believe the guaranteed money for Jalen Hurts is $110 million over 3 years, starting next year. So you got a lot of money tied up here, friend. Maybe do what the guy wants. Maybe make him comfortable. If that's read option, if that's passes out of the backfield to running backs, great. Maybe do that. To me, these are moves of desperation. Certainly feels like that, Fuji. This isn't good, says Joe Matty. You and I are on the same page. Maverick One, not even going to give my emotions to this freaking team anymore. We say that, and then we're right back in it. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. High draft next year, running back. And Jalen will be another Wentz with these JV coaches. Good God, let's hope not. Farzy, what's up? What's up, President? What's up, Mr. President? Thank you for chiming in on my show. This is definitely the president. Don't forget that. Farzy, the Eagles lost a fan base if they bring back Nick. Yeah, but then they win. If they win, then everything's great. If they lose, see, here's what's going to happen. I regardless of Jalen Hurts' wishes, I think they're going to bring in a new offensive coordinator. And then what's going to happen is that offensive coordinator, or maybe their defensive coordinator has head coaching experience elsewhere. Nick, if things go tail up next year, Nick gets fired and one of the new coordinators takes over. That's going to be the move next year. That's my overall prediction. John Carter, fly Eagles, fly. Eagles would be all right. They have to be? I don't know about that. What's up, Fuji? It's like someone with no friends trying to find anyone to be their friend. Can you please come and be our coordinator? Will you be my friend and call plays? Farzy can't bench the bar. Where you been? It's all about the fightings, Mark. Thank you. Eric Wisniewski, is it true Hurts wanted offensive change? They told him no. That's it doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me if that's what they did. Eagles are done. Howie doesn't want to lose control. I don't think Laurie wants to lose control, and he's gaining more control. Farzy, we need Wheeler. What up, Fars? What's up, Gail? How you doing, Gail? This is a 4-win team next year, says Maverick. April! What's going on, April? Sean, Eagles from top down are in trouble. Can't seem to make common sense decisions if analytics doesn't tell them to. See, that's the thing with common sense and analytics. Not the same thing, unfortunately. This is when I thought I lost everything. If I was Lane, I would retire and go through another season like we did. Yeah. Chris going, until the house gets cleaned, we will be mediocre. Sirianni, Sean, brilliant. Sirianni showed he's lost the team with his coaches. There's no doubt about that. Move on, change the way we do things. I wish they would, but it's just not happening, unfortunately. This is when I was down for like 20 seconds. Go chug an espresso, Farzetta. You don't chug espresso. You sip. Oh, that's cold. Okay, that's been sitting there a minute. Okay. Just side note, okay, for anyone that wants to go to a little country called Italy, people rave about the food, as they should, but this just made me think about it. This right here, that's music, man. You walk into any cafe in Italy and you go to get a cafe Americano. You go ahead and you get yourself a cappuccino as long as it's before 11. You have an espresso or un cafe. You do that, and you open the door after you're walking around all those beautiful buildings, all the beautiful ruins, and all that stuff. You walk around, you get into the. You just need a little hit of caffeine. You open the door and you hear the clickety clank clank, clickety clank clank. That is music, man. That is the most underrated thing. It's a beautiful thing. If you're a coffee lover, that's my endorsement right there. Also, the greatest joke the Italians ever played on the Americans is that they called their worst espresso. They named it after us. What do you want to call this watered down, crappy espresso we just had? Name it after that bozo over there. The American? Yep, the Americano. How did anyone watch the Kelce pod and not know he was done? It's clear. I agree. If Laurie brings back Nick, he's going to lose the fan base. Put it this way. If Nick is back and Brian Johnson is not, if Nick is back and Brian Johnson's back, then you're just running it back and you're terrible. Simple as that. If Nick is back and Brian Johnson is not back and they bring in somebody maybe a more experienced offense coordinator, then you feel a little bit better about it. Kelce in the Mummer statue outfit would be a great or Kelce statue in the Mummer outfit. That would be good. Wait, hold on a second. Hell no, he ain't no Michael Jordan for a statue. Janine, Jason Kelce gets a statue. These are the rules. These are the rules. Yeah, look, I hate when people jump to the Doug Peterson and Nick Foles statue. It says Bud Light on it. Okay, it's an advertisement. It's a billboard. Does it capture the greatest moment ever? Yes, it does. But it's not like a team-sanctioned statue. If that's out there, Jason Kelce better be out there. Jason Kelce statue in the Mummers outfit and quotes, no one likes this. We don't care for it. That's good, Sean. I do like that. But that should be where the Rocky statue was. When the Rocky statue was on top of the art museum, have it sanctioned by like a real artist so that the art museum isn't like, oh, that's just a movie prop. Move it out of here. Then you move it to the Spectrum and then you move it back. Can't move it to the Spectrum now, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not buying a single bleeping ticket or a single piece of Eagles gear if he's back. Maverick's pissed. Adams, what's up, man? Adams Exploits, what's going on? Kelce will be at Disney World soon making money with an appearance with his family, not because they won the Super Bowl. Fair enough. No, look, again, Jason Kelce is retiring. That's happening. I don't think anything else is happening. But that's where I'm at. Too many good coaches out there this offseason. We need one. I concur. Mike, what's going on? From Harrisburg, live in Charleston, South Carolina. Glad I don't have the shite weather anymore. Charleston, South Carolina, man. Good times. Jamie Lynch. My buddy Jamie Lynch had his bachelor party in Charleston, South Carolina. Good times. Good times. Soap opera will be dragged out, says Fuji. Eric Nudie Farzi. Is it true Hurts wanted offensive change and was told no? Yeah, probably. This was my first baseball question. Farzi, you leading off with Trey or Schwarber? Trey Turner. That's what I'm doing. Lori and Howie make me sick, says McFuji. Not buying anything until Nick is gone. Jeffrey Lurie is trying to be like Jerry Jones. I don't understand how analytics doesn't tell him that's a bad idea because analytics doesn't cover that. What's up, Rel? Bleep this team. And Jeffrey doesn't deserve to be the owner of this team. Here's the thing. You got to also keep in mind the analytics department. You know who they work for? They work for Jeffrey Lurie. And what does Jeffrey Lurie want to do? He wants to justify what he has learned about football. And don't get me wrong, he's been around football, 25, whatever it is, 28 years, whatever the hell has been, however long he's owned the team. If I was in the building for 25 years, that close to everything, I would feel like I'd know something about football too. But you haven't dedicated your life to coaching, and you can't cut out the middleman. So the analytic department, who pays their bill? Well, it's Jeffrey Lurie. Who's heading up the analytic department? Julian Lurie, Jeffrey Lurie's son. That's not going away. So much as I hate to say it, it ain't going away. The Luries are going to be involved in the Eagles forever. That's not going anywhere. That's a hell of a family business. No one's telling you, I don't want to run a football team. I want to dance. Like, no one's saying that. I don't want to run a football. I want to be an actor. I want to be an artist. That's not happening. I really want to go into the art of personal finance. That's not happening. You're owning a football team. That's pretty awesome. Farzi can't score more than 9 points against Tampa. How is he back? I get it. Negadelphia season, or just calling it like it is. Wow, Saul Goodman from the top row. Ooh, I love Carlsberg. Please go away, Jalen Hurts. Your time here has caused a lot of pain and suffering. Really? Yeah, I think AJ Brown's back. Fuji. Stoney, what's going on? If Eagles come back without major changes, a lot of fans won't be following them. Yeah, they'll be back. Here's what sucks. The NFL has us. Let's acknowledge something here. The NFL's got us. The only thing that ever really threatened the NFL in any recent memory is replacement officials. When we had the feeling that the people of authority on the field didn't know what the hell they were doing. That's the only time. And people were still watching. They didn't really care that much. But I'm saying the only time people ever went, what the hell is going on here? Really? That's it. There have been horrific off-the-field moments and teams giving second chances to people who have done horrific things off the field. And we still watch. The NFL grows. We have ripped and torn to shreds Roger Goodell. You know what the NFL has done? Grown. They added a game to the schedule, and we watch. The NFL is going to have teams in Europe. That's happened. That's going to happen. It is a numero uno goal of Roger Goodell. How's it going to work? Probably add another bye week and get teams in Europe. Germany, London, all that stuff. That's going to happen. Maybe Mexico even. You have a team in Mexico City. Who knows? But you're going to have teams overseas. As bonkers as that sounds, you're going to have teams overseas. It's going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to watch. The Eagles can do whatever the hell they want. The NFL can do whatever the hell it wants. And people are going to watch. Let's see what else here. Tech Mobile. Thank you, Mike. Eric, Lori, and Howie, Nick and Johnson will get Hurts killed. Oh, good God. AJ equals T.O. I don't think he's that bad. And I love T.O. Brian Johnson's pedigree is Urban Myers and Dan Mullen, excuse me, which is heavy run offense. Yeah, I wish that showed here in Philadelphia. Total rebuild? I don't think so. Total rebuild, new GM, new quarterback, total defensive overhaul. Lori has become a meddling POS. April, attitude starts with Lori for sure. It absolutely does. Adam, that's a great way to, it's a good way to sum it up. Run blocking is attack blocking. Pass blocking is defensive blocking. Yep. Popcorn for Nick. Maybe I missed. I didn't get in yet. The Latin Inferno? Latin Inferno? I don't know. It's a combination of words. I like it. Which OC, which DC would Nick is head coach? I don't know. Here's the thing. If you come here as an offensive coordinator, you know you're going to have a lot to do with the offensive game plan because you don't have a head coach calling plays. Jeremy, what's going on? Sirianni must go. What does he do? What does he do good? Time management was abysmal. Players not knowing who should be on the field. Remember the Arizona game? Sirianni and Reich does not execute. Maybe that's where they go. Okay. No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. I said Sirianni. Unless you're Italian, stop talking. Talking to my phone. No one else. Sirianni is not a good offense coordinator. I agree. Hello, Jim. Jalen blames himself. Yeah, he does. He takes big responsibility there. I don't mess it. Johnny G. What's up, Doc? What's up, Mark? Finally caught the show live. Always love your inputs. Amazing how things change in a short amount of time. Johnny, you ain't kidding. Go Archbishop Wood Vikings, my friend. Oh, Sean Gillespie, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare put the quarter in my impression machine. I am in no mood. No mood, I tell you. All right, that's enough. I'm sorry. Okay, that's the last one, I promise. Jim Crosley, what's going on? I've got my Americano with 8 shots of espresso. It's on its way. DoorDash, laugh out loud. Did you go with the 8 shots of espresso? That's bonkers, man. That's just a cup of coffee. If you were having 8 shots in an Americano, that's just a cup of coffee. What you need is a coffee maker. You don't need DoorDash. I say that I'm about to make my wife an Americano. That is her beverage. For Eagles offense. My apologies for sane questions. That's funny. Farzy is right. Whatever it is, I'm sure I was right. Nando Jr., I would literally quit smoking if they hired Seth Joyner as defensive coordinator. They ain't hiring Seth Joyner as defensive coordinator. I would love to be in the room where Seth has his first analytics meeting. My favorite thing Seth Joyner says is, "You out your damn mind." Nobody says that better. I will use that line on my own children. when they're older and all that. They're running around and doing stupid stuff and all that. Like, hey, Dad, can I? Whatever. I bet, yeah, it's your damn mind. They're like, well, are you saying that line from Mr. Joyner again? I'm like, you're damn right I am. Thanks, everybody in the chat. April, I would buy tickets to watch Seth talk to the team, as would I. This sums it up. This just popped right. Bleep everyone, go Birds. There, all right, there we go. Probably find anyone that works. There we go. Hey, thanks everybody in the chat. Wait, hold on a second. There's one more I wanted to see here. Anthony debacle. That's true. People still watched. Oh, people came back immediately. Even people that left. But wait, there's one more. No, I got you. Jamel Bundy. Can we stop with all the passive defensive stuff? At this point, I blame Sirianni more than the defensive coordinators because we've seen 3 different guys do the same thing. That's how you know Sirianni likes passive. No, that I agree with. Nick Sirianni doesn't call plays defensively by any means. Let's not get crazy. But one thing Nick Sirianni does do is give an outline to the defense of what he wants to see from them. That's why you see the same stuff. The only time I saw anything different was Matt Patricia's first game. You saw a little bit more press coverage. That was it. Adam, what's up, Adam? Now time for the Flyers. Let's go Flyers, baby. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Let's get to the Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars. SkyMotorcars.com. Actually, I'm way behind here, so I got to get running. Thanks, everybody. What do we got? The Flyers tonight? We got the Flyers tonight. Sixers tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 19th. Yeah, tomorrow's the 19th. That's your Morning Rush. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you. Birds 365 is coming up in about 48 minutes. 37 minutes, excuse me. 37 minutes, and then I'll be back on the Jacob Media Sports Channel with my friend Bill Colarulo coming up for the Philly Sports Power Hour at 10:20. So you don't want to miss that one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to Jacob Media. Then hop over to the Farzy Show YouTube channel as well and smash the like button and subscribe to that one. Awesome. Thanks for watching, everybody. You guys are fantastic. Catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully after some more clarity comes out surrounding our Philadelphia Eagles.